up, Define Nation, and welcome to another episode of Define Your Health with Danielle Girdano, strength through knowledge. And guys, I'm super excited today. You know that I love to talk technology, new frontiers of holistic medicine, and that is exactly what we got on tap for you today. We're joined by our very special guest, Richard Fix, who is a certified natural health practitioner and also a medical device specialist. But I have to tell you, thank you for coming in, but thank you more for your service during the Vietnam era. You were an Air Force pilot? Is that what you were?
I was an electronic technician.
Ah, there you
Yes.
go. That's right. The electronic countermeasures. That's what we were talking about earlier,
yes.
correct?
Right. You're right. That's what gave me the background for what I do now.
We're going to get into that in just one second, but thank you so much for coming in, for all of your service, and I think this is going to be a fascinating show, so I'm going to dive right in.
Go for it.
All right, Define Nation, here we go. We're talking about a technology today that you may not have heard about before, but will be on your horizons in the very near future. Avasia technology, which is basically applied electrophysiology. Now, you guys know that I'm a geek, so I was totally all into this the very first time that I met Richard. But Richard, for those of us that maybe aren't as inclined listening out there in Radio Land, take us from the baby steps. What exactly is this technology? And then I'd like to get into how we're applying it to health.
Sure. The technology is electricity. It's using electricity to help the body reinvigorate itself. We don't really use a device to heal anything or to cure anything because the body is actually capable of doing it on its own. What we use it for is to transfer energy into the body so the body has the energy it needs for the repair cycles for pretty much almost anything we can imagine.
So, and the body is absolutely a miraculous just machine, and that's the way I like to really refer to the body sometimes, because of all the different parts that all work together in functionality. But I absolutely agree that the body can't heal itself. So where did this technology originally come from, or how long has it been around?
That's a good question. It came, as we see it today, it came actually from the Russians. They began developing this during the space race.
Okay.
Because they couldn't afford the pharmaceutical drugs as America did, and they weren't going to be able. They knew they were going to have men in space for long periods of time, just like we did.
Okay.
And so they didn't have much room up there, and they needed something which I call a dock in a box.
A dock in a box.
A dock in a box. Something that was small, lightweight, portable, and would help the physiology, or in other words, the body functions, stabilize.
Okay.
So, because if they're ill, they just can't send a doc up in a capsule.
Yeah, well, not very quickly, at least, right?
And it took them like 10 years, 100 scientists, to come up with a concept that was workable. They actually did produce it and actually passed human clinical trials, and was actually right around the time of perestroika that we know about, because it was a state secret for a number of years. It was delivered to first like firefighters, police, army, military.
And this is over
hospitals
in Russia now.
Russia, correct.
Is still Russia.
Right.
Okay.
Meanwhile, we have our pills,
which, as we know, works so well. And they fix one thing, and we have 10 other issues that come with it. And the first thing is just mask, not even fixed.
And the nice thing about this is that this technology was designed to help systems and organs and tissue come back into what we might call a normal state, from an injured state or an ill state. When we're sick, it's kind of like a car. When your battery's low, you go row, 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 and you hope it starts.
Yeah.
Or when you wake up in the morning, if you're sick, you feel like that dead battery in a car, or the dying battery. Well, the cells are the same way. Mm-hmm. And this particular form of energy, as we can put it into the body, actually helps those cells become a recharged battery, so that they can then perform normal function.
And when they're healthy, they can obviously heal the body, normal function, everything kind of balances out.
I've actually seen a sprained ankle that I was able to get on when it happened, within 30 minutes of the sprain, reach a point where it never swelled up. We did not have to do the traditional methods. We just used this device, this technology, to eliminate the inflammation, and by morning the ankle was normal.
So walk me through this kind of slowly. So this, basically the technology, the device itself, is going to send electric current into the body. Is that the best way? And then
I should give you the elevator speech.
Uh-oh.
First, it's real simple. the technology creates an environment in the body where if the body can heal itself, it will. And if it can't, at least we can manage the pain, because the technology with this company is cleared by the FDA for pain relief, pain management in virtually every category.
Virtually every category. And what are examples of the categories?
Symptomatic relief of pain, pain management, surgery, post-traumatic pain. Pick a pain, it's in the FDA clearance.
And originally, back in the space race, these were all things that were already tested out by the Russians.
Right, 50,000 patients later, they had a pretty good idea of what it did and how to do it.
And how long did they have that technology before anybody released it into the U.S. or was bringing it
We don't know.
The
they never told us. That's the interesting thing. It was during Perestroika that they released this and got credit for doing it as a humanitarian effort on their part. But we don't know, really. They've never told us when they originally started it. We suspect it was in the 60s, but it may have even started before that.
And then eventually it made its way over here to the U.S., but
yes,
it seems like in most cases with holistic medicine that maybe had some obstacles.
Well, it did. It began to flourish more in Europe first, and then and then through some key people it was introduced to the United States. It still has to keep a low profile in those days anyway, which was in the late 90s.
Okay.
And it basically broke into the U.S., our country, in the late 90s. And there were a few key players in those days who were still around who were able to share this with others. And the way they shared it was basically grassroots. Somebody comes in, they have a back pain or they have an issue, they need a detox, whatever it might be.
Well, and all great things start with the people who desire change and that want a real solution and not just a fix. And we're going to get right back into how it really got into the United States. I'm curious about that and kind of where it's gone since the 90s, since it has been here. But Define Nation, we do have to go to a commercial break. Remember that this segment is brought to you by the Princeton, Texas Chamber of Commerce. Learn why Princeton is the best place for first-time home buyers at PrincetonTXChamber.com. That's PrincetonTXChamber.com. Hey, Define Nation, I don't know about you, but when I was choosing to purchase my first home and lay down some Texas roots, I had so many factors to consider. It was just overwhelming. What was my solution? Princeton, Texas, of course. Did you know it was selected as the best city for first-time homebuyers? With a top-rated school district, expanding housing market, and genuine right-at-home feeling, it's no wonder why people are attracted to this all-American Texas town. Find out for yourself and schedule a visit at PrincetonTXChamber.com. That's PrincetonTXChamber.com.
Trying to contain skyrocketing healthcare costs? There is an answer. Define offers a comprehensive wellness program that measures your employees' physical, mental, and nutritional progress, providing reports that help HR save your insurance aggregate big money. Define comes to you, bringing all the necessary workout equipment. And with Define's stress management program, your team will be healthier, refreshed, and focused.
Every company that has tried Define is still a client. Find out why at defineyourhealth.com. That's the letter D, F-I-N-E, yourhealth.com.
And we are back to Define Nation with our very special guest, Richard Fix, who is a medical device specialist, also a certified natural health practitioner. And we are talking Avasia technology today, which is really applied electrophysiology. And, you know, when we left off in the last segment, we were talking about how, well, sometimes there's a delay in natural things coming into the U.S. And you had explained that Russia was really, they pioneered this technology out of necessity. And it was starting to spread into Europe first. And I'd like you to pick up there. You said there were some key players, and I just want to spend just a minute or so on this, how it actually got over into the United States.
Well, actually, what happened was the Russians came to America. They were looking for some people to use here in North America to introduce this with. And they happened to find one or two, and they actually had set up a spa, if you will. I believe it was Niagara Falls area in New York City. And a friend of mine happens to have been one of the people invited, and he expected that he would go there and be back in 3 days, and he wasn't back for 6 weeks. Because once he got there, he saw what was going on. He couldn't believe it. And that's pretty much what we all encounter when we start to use this technology, because the human body responds to energy extremely well. And when you can present energy in a way that the body can use it, you're almost unstoppable.
Well, then let me ask you this real quickly then. How many people currently in the U.S. are using this technology? Maybe those that are certified to be able to administer and use, and then those that are actually patients. Do you have any kind of grasp on numbers here?
Not really, because it's not mainstream yet. While it is FDA cleared technology for the most part, there's a few manufacturers. Avazia, my opinion right now is Avazia is the best. Everybody has an opinion. Because this technology, with what I use in the practitioner device, is so versatile. Where it's cleared, FDA cleared for pain, but practitioners can use it for almost anything they want to if the patient needs to. And
well, when having a device like this, I mean, especially when you're talking about electronic current, you want something that's durable, and you want something that's, for lack of a better word, accurate. That's not exactly where I want to go with that, but you need to really have something that you feel confident in using.
Yes, and the background of the device is pretty interesting as well, because through a series of let's call them coincidences, if nothing, to keep everything nice.
Okay, well, let's play nice in the sandbox.
Yeah,
okay.
We'll play nice in the sandbox. is the owner of Avazia actually was able to acquire the rights to some of the technology because of a situation that occurred in Texas.
Really?
But yeah, where there was a they don't talk about it, but let's just put it that way.
Okay.
And so he was legally able to obtain the rights because they owed him some money they didn't pay him.
Uh-oh.
And he happened to be a past senior vice president design engineer for TI, and at one point ran all of Asia. And one of the what you call the gems in his crown was he designed a chip that over 20 years ago, he designed a chip for Texas Instruments that is in every single cell phone on planet Earth to this day, and nobody's improved it.
Really?
So when he saw the Russian technology, he actually met with the Russians, got a handle on what was going on, and basically re-engineered it and Americanized it.
Oh, my goodness.
He made it better. And then with the help of a few other people that we know, Dr. Stan Wolf and a few others, there are actually some programs that we have in this technology that don't exist anywhere.
That's fascinating. Which, again, if you're going to use something like this, especially as a professional as yourself, you want to use not only what you think is cutting edge technology, but what is really the best of that cutting edge technology, and that's what that sounds like here.
The creme de la creme.
Creme de la creme. I like that. And so, those who can benefit from use, you had explained earlier about a sprain that was really initial, that you started to apply this technology right away, and you saw an immediate improvement. But things like inflammation or arthritis, especially with the aging baby boomers that are living longer and longer, they've been active all of their life. Arthritis and inflammation is something that's common for them. So they can benefit as well, right?
Absolutely. Arthritis, which is just a Latin way to say joint pain.
Yeah, basically.
for basically.
Basically, it's inflammation. Yeah, calcification.
I was asked once. I was on a three-way call, and another practitioner asked me, because the patient had asked a question, and so he asked. So on the phone, he said, "So what, Richard? What is your results with arthritis?" And I said, "Right around 100%." In other words, we get a response pretty much across the board with issues that are inflammation driven, and arthritis being a key one. It doesn't mean they're going to, if they have knee pain, I've had doctors who in 5 to 7 minutes treat their knee, and they're able to do deep knee bends. Doesn't mean they're out of the woods, doesn't mean their knee is cured, but it's a start. And they couldn't do it before that.
That is just fascinating. That is just fascinating. And you're actually going to be at one of the Define events later this month on the 23rd.
Yeah.
And hopefully people will be able to try that out. And I'm excited to see it myself. I mean, obviously, I know that you and I have, had contact prior to, but I'm excited to see others go through this whenever they're able to communicate with you and just interact with you. I think it's going to be fascinating.
Well, this is just so much fun to use. We have lots of, I have a friend of mine who's a doctor. He actually was one of our associates, I guess we'd say. He's a friend and associate. And he got introduced to this from another friend of mine who's a doctor who introduced it to him, that I've introduced to him, and it's everybody meets everybody eventually.
6 seconds there.
But he,
6 circles of separation. 6 degrees,
6 degrees of separation.
There you go. There you
but
go.
he talks about. I asked him. I said, "So what do you look for every time you see somebody?" He says, "I look for a wow moment." In other words, he looks for the changes. It could be a 75-year-old lady who's suffered for something for 20, 30 years and maybe can't move the arm the way she'd like to or normally.
Mm-hmm.
And when you work on somebody and you release the tissue and they can move their arm, or the pain is gone, or the knees feel better, and nothing ever did it before, that's a wow moment.
Well, and especially when there's no pharmaceuticals involved, there's nothing else that's going to irritate the body, and it's acting as a solution, not just a cover-up or a Band-Aid for something that's temporary.
Right. And another thing that's interesting is there's been a lot of research recently in the medical field that validates a lot of what we've been doing, that is not designed to support this technology, but the results of the research validate it with such things as reducing inflammation.
Well, and I tell you what, I'd like to get into those as soon as we come back from commercial break. And remember, Define Nation, this segment brought to you by Ramp Up Design. When the voice of your business needs polished digital definition, check out our friends at rampupdesign.com. That's rampupdesign.com.
At Sunnyland Patio Furniture, we specialize in creating the ultimate in outdoor entertaining. This spring, give your patio a breath of fresh air. Updates from the simple to the extreme are our specialty. At Sunnyland, we focus on extreme comfort, relaxation, lifestyle, and design. Visit our 37,000 square foot showroom to find your inspiration. We are the insiders when it comes to everything you need for the outdoors. Sunnyland Patio Furniture, Coyton Spring Valley in Dallas, or online at sunnylandfurniture.com.
This is Danielle from the Define Your Health with Danielle Girdano radio show. Something that's truly near and dear to my heart is the epidemic of childhood obesity in the United States. This is a preventable epidemic that is taking over the lives of the next generation of children in this country. When I was growing up, my dad used to tell me, if you're not willing to do something to change something that you don't like, you don't have the right to complain. Well, you know what? I'm going to do something about it. This year, Define is embarking on the highwayforhealth.org project. What is it? It is a project to call attention to the epidemic of childhood obesity in the United States and how preventable it truly is. The project will give parents the tools and the resources that they need to make the right choices and truly equip themselves with the right knowledge so that they can help the next generations of Americans. Help me help the future. Visit highwayforhealth.org. Again, that's highway, F-O-R, health.org. And we are back to Define Nation with our very special guest, Richard Fix, who is a certified natural health practitioner and a medical device specialist. And we are talking some applied electrophysiology today. You
said that so well.
I know. I'd say it 3 times fast, right? And then I'd be in trouble. And we're talking about a specific technology today called Avasio.
Avasio, close enough.
Oh, it was the physiology.
We need to do more shows so we can get this down right.
I used up all my talents on the physiology. There you go. But we're talking about this technology that really has the foundation and seems like it has the very great potential to really become a mainstay and really maybe replace a lot of pharmaceuticals and just become a real solution for people. And you were just going to get into some research. And I love research. So dig in a little bit. Let's talk a little bit of research behind this and why we think it's, because I share the opinion with you that I think this is a great alternative. I think it's a solution. There's
ongoing research in virtually every category you can imagine. And the technology uses microcurrent.
Mm-hmm.
Now, everyone is familiar with TENS. They've been to their doctor, a chiropractor, whomever, and they put some pads on and it moves their arm or their shoulder or their leg, whatever it is. And the TENS category, the TENS technology was originally designed to trigger the pain gate. It's pain gate theory, so that the signal from the TENS device, electrical signal from the TENS device, basically blocks the pain signal from making it to the brain. In other words, the signal that creates the signal for pain.
Okay.
This technology, when we want to compare that, because I get asked that a lot.
And it's common, and I think a lot of people know what a TENS unit is. They
Yeah.
sell them in Walgreens.
Yeah, you can pay $50 or $100, whatever. I don't even know what they cost now. The difference being is when we make that comparison, because when you touch the skin with this, you're going to think it's a TENS unit. But I have to explain that a TENS unit, if we're going to make the comparison, is like a bicycle, and this is a Maserati.
Okay.
And there's no real comparison because it's an entirely different theory,
Mm-hmm.
and it operates on microcurrent, not milliamps. And the signal produced is very, very similar and designed on purpose to be very similar to the neuron on a nerve ending's firing. So when the nerve reaches that synapse and the neurotransmitters and the neuropeptides are released, it's a bunch of fancy terms, so it means it's chemicals. The signals that we use are designed to affect that and improve that. And when those signals are released through the nerve and the synapse is jumped, all kinds of incredibly marvelous things happen in the body, and that's what we call healing.
I love it. All the complication to come back to healing. By the way, thanks for picking an Italian sports car too with the Maserati. I appreciate that. I appreciate that. Now, and you were also talking about the relationship, kind of the fight or flight mode, and because I think a lot of people can relate to that. I think a lot of people are under a lot of stress, especially professionals, and we take on so much, we become overwhelmed. Can you just briefly go into that and kind of walk us through that?
Yes, with this technology, we have the ability, even at home, an individual has the ability to use this technology to help get them out of running from the bear, which is the fight or flight. So we call it running from the bear. It's a pretty vivid image.
Yeah.
All right, because when you're running from the bear, you don't care about eating, sleeping, digestion. You don't care about any of that. You just want to get away.
Survival.
And most of the time, we're not really running from the bear. We just think we are. Our brain does.
Mm-hmm.
So what we do is we can use this technology, and research has validated it, and we can stimulate what they call the vagus nerve. That's a simple way. We can do it other ways too. And in minutes or less, help a person transition from running from the bear to being in what we call parasympathetic, which is being able to eat, sleep, digest, and assimilate properly.
In other words, breathe and relax.
Breathe and relax. We can do it with deep breathing. We can do it with laughing, our like Norman Cousins did with the cancer. He laughed himself to wellness.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people can't do that. He did. Others can't.
Mm-hmm.
With this, it always works.
So let me since we're on the topic of research, I want to go into traditional doctors versus holistic doctors. Typically, you see some sort of a barrier there between the two. This technology, how is it being accepted on both ends? Obviously, holistically, I would think it'd be welcome. What are traditional doctors saying, and how are those two fields interacting?
I'll cover the MD first, because that's the more difficult. It is a difficult answer because it just depends. Traditionally, they're under a very powerful microscope on what they can say and do.
Mm-hmm.
So I actually have some MDs that refer patients to me because they can't get into it. But they can't even get into that unless their patient says, well, what else can I do?
Mm-hmm.
So because of the threat of the AMA and the licensing and whatnot, they have to be very, very careful. Now, having said that, there are clinics around who have fully implemented this and integrated this into what they do. But there's also considerations where they have to have scope of practice approval, and the association has to give them what they call scope of practice anyway, meaning that, it fits into what you're doing. So for those who are doing it, they're doing it fine. Lubbock has implemented this into their work up there under community health centers, which is basically what you might call free clinics.
Okay.
And the last information I got from them was they are experiencing a 39% reduction in pain per patient per visit.
That's significant.
Yeah, and I was disappointed with those numbers.
And you've seen better then.
I've seen better. But if all we had was 39% per patient per visit and you don't have to take opiate drugs, not a bad trade-off.
That's a good day in my book. That's a good day.
And so they're happy, and they're still new at it. I would expect them to get even better.
That's something to
Holistic
watch.
doctors, once they are willing to take a look at something, great. Then they just have to figure out how to implement it into their practice, which is not usually difficult. We've got a very good friend and associate who is a full diplomat of acupuncture. He spent years in Chinese medicine, and he has not used a needle in over 7 years because he uses this instead. It works better, lasts longer.
Wow. So, okay, so if we're talking about the acceptance and kind of the acceptance curve or the timeline for acceptance, what are you seeing in the future as full acceptance on both sides? Or is it just a matter of people finding out?
It's a matter of people finding out. That's really the bottom line to all that. I wish we could wave a magic wand, and it's so hard to fight status quo.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Agreed.
The pharmaceutical industry is entrenched. That's where all the money is.
Mm-hmm.
So they're not going to be spending time. And even the efforts that are being made right now to incorporate devices into the neck to stimulate the vagus nerve, which is what they're doing. They're looking at $35,000, $40,000 devices they want to implant in the neck to produce the same thing we can do just by applying it topically.
Well, and that's something else too, because I remember when I had first met you and trying to do some research about the product, a lot of medical devices, you're talking the 35, 45, 100,000, I mean, some even in more and more and more. But this technology is relatively, and maybe it is because it's new, but it's relatively, I don't want to say inexpensive, because it's not inexpensive, but in proportion to these other devices, it is.
I guess the way to answer that is we just recorded a testimonial from somebody who came up to our last training, and she said it was the best money she ever spent, and she only spent $1,000.
To be out of pain, what's that worth to somebody? I mean, that's what I would say.
That's priceless, because if you consider all the doctor visits she used to have, she had 20 years of pain. It went away in 2 treatments.
You figure copays,
For good, it's
gas,
been a year and a half and no recurrence.
That's just fascinating. So the future of this technology, if you can kind of sum up in your opinion, the future of this technology, where you see it
It is
going.
changing the face of medicine even as we speak. It has not made great inroads. Most of the people listening to this program may never have even heard of this. But then that's what we're doing, isn't it?
So I want people to be able to get a hold of you. So we are going to put some links, and we're going to put some information up on our Facebook page. Define Nation, you know that we have our $500 prize pack, so I know you guys are going to go visit our social media sites, but we'll make sure for sure to get it up on Facebook. We'll probably run it on Twitter too. I got to get permission from my social media manager, to be able to directly get in contact with you and just get more information, because I agree, this is life-changing technology.
It is, and it's changed my life, and it's changed. The objective is it's about pain resolution, restoration of health, and that changes lives.
It absolutely does. It absolutely does. It absolutely does. Well, Richard, thank you so much for joining us today, and I'm excited about the future of what this technology can do, and I'm super excited, Define Nation. And do remember, we are going to post that trivia question from today's show on our social media outlets. You never know which one it's going to be, so log in to each of them after the 7 o'clock show tonight and get that $500 prize pack. And remember, Define Nation, until next time, motivated, dedicated, and highly recommended. Bye-bye.